Okay, so this week you should be finishing up your design development using the 3Ms, which is methods, media, materials, and the design E's and P's, elements and principles. You started this in week 3, continued in week 4, and this is the week you should be finishing up your design development. Of course, each design problem and your own timetable will be variables that make this a bit flexible. But in general, by the end of this week, you should have completed in total at least 8 folio pages per presentation that represent the design development stage of your folio. So 8 is just a recommendation because at the end of the day, it is the quality, not the quantity, that is being assessed. Which brings us to just a bit of a reminder about the design development and what you're being assessed on. So remember, that is your exploration of methods, media and materials for criteria 4, and the design elements and design principles for criteria 5. So, I'll just get myself organised here. For a visual communication to be visually engaging and exciting to the audience, it must look professional. Attention to detail is part and parcel of the design process. Images must be visually resolved. Type should be carefully kerned and positioned. Working drawings, including plans, elevations or isometric projections, must be accurately produced. You need to aim for the best presentation possible, so it is in the development phase of the design process that you should also be developing your proficiency in producing the images and type of your visual communications. Every design problem will require a different method of production and utilise different design elements and design principles. The method of production, the material it is presented on, and the media used to make the marks on the material rather, the colour, the type, style, the way an image is cropped, is dependent on the requirements stipulated in your design brief and what the purpose is. There are digital methods of production, including software, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, GIMP, SketchUp, and manual methods of production, including papercraft, painting, collage, and drawing. Now, I'll help direct you to resources that are appropriate for your design brief and make suggestions about how you can use the 3Ms and the design E's and P's. But you'll need to send your design development work in this week so that I can provide you with specific feedback. For this presentation now, I wanted to show you a couple of student design development and refinement folio pages and just point out how they've used the 3Ms and design E's and P's. Here is a folio page example by a top design student showing the creative use of stenciling, which is a printing method, and the media used here is aerosol paint. On this page I want to show you how the elements and principles of design have been used to develop and refine Ben's logo for his surfboard repair company called Ben's Dings. Now I've shown you some of his work in previous presentations, and this version of his identity shows good awareness of contemporary design in his choice of typography, which is a design element. The typeface is casual and informal. The 3D form and hand-drawn method is a popular aesthetic for typefaces at the moment. I'll also draw your attention to the use of figure ground in the letter BD and the interplay between the positive and negative space here. Whoops! Too many clicks. The B in the typeface occurs or occupies the negative space, which is enhanced by the patterned ground here in the figure space of the letter D. You can see the letter D here. Ben's use of repeated skeletal fish shapes in the figure creates a random pattern which clearly relates to the theme of surfing and the ocean, etc. Now, is there any symbolism in using skeletal fish, do you think? Well, the company repairs broken surfboards, so there may be a link here between dead fish and dead boards, who knows. Anyway, it's all part of Ben's creative thinking and shows connection and his ability to be original. Now, whoops, I've already seen that. On this page, I wanted to show you how materials were used to develop and design a character figurine. This folio page by Sheridan, a former DECV student, shows her production process using the casting method, which is one of the 3D methods. Now remember, with 3D methods there are two. Construction is one, which would be things like making architectural models out of balsa wood or foam core, and moulding, which is the second one. Prior to this method, Sheridan made a 3D model using modelling clay to perfect the form and detail of the character. Once she was happy with the form, she then needed to make a cast. In the casting technique, you use plaster to create a perfect mould of your 3D form. By making the mould of the 3D form, she could then create her character figurine out of resin, which was poured into the cast. Her annotations clearly express the process, and as you can see, she's taken really clear photographs of this. Now I want to draw your attention to a couple of things that are demonstrated here in Jake's folio pages. To give you a background on this set, Jake designed a package for Red Beard Ginger Beer. So this page shows the development of one of the image that go into the package design he made. Here Jake has used a sourced image of the kilt with the little front bag, I don't know what they're called, on the front of the kilt. So to use a sourced image, another word that we might use is that he's ripped it from somewhere else. But in his work, he credits the source of this image of the kilt. I want to mention the use of sourced images at this stage. As you know, copyright is a real issue for designers because of the prevalence of imagery on the net and how easy it is to take things from the net. It is important that designers create original images for their designs. Sourced imagery can be okay though in some cases, as is the case here, where Jake has used a photo taken by someone else and accessed it from the net. This image only makes up a part of his overall design though, which is fine. If this image was a logo, for example, it wouldn't be fine because this would be the only thing that would be used. Keep in mind that if you are using sourced imagery, these three very important points. One, you must source the image, that is, write down the URL and the date it was accessed, or name of the book or magazine it came from, or even better, credit the original photographer, designer or illustrator. The second important thing is don't use someone else's work to make up the bulk of your design. And thirdly, always look to change the work of another designer's if you are using it, as is the case here. Jake is clearly using this image of the kilt but making a new image out of it by creating the green shape behind, and I'll show you some more folio pages that show the development of this image. So here you can see how Jake is developing this image that's been sourced. He's added a yellow shape with the original green shape. His annotation in below were written on post-it notes and stuck over printed screen dumps of his Photoshop file, which I think is a really good way to present your development annotations. His annotations reveal the reason behind his choice. He says here, I've added a small highlight, the same as was used in the shield. I think this will help to link them together. So he is making a bit of a reflection there on his choice of using the shape behind the kilt. And here you can see the image as it's fully developed with typography included. You can see the effective choice of type style to symbolise traditional Scottish aesthetic and the consideration of hierarchy, which is an important design principle. The main text, free kilt stubby holder, is probably a good 3 times the size of the smaller text for a limited time only. And here you can see the inclusion of the image, there it is, in the overall package net mock-up which he created in Photoshop. So like I was saying before, it's a sourced image, but it makes up a small part of his overall design. He's also used other sourced images here, but he has manipulated and added things to them. So this kilt, he has added the stroke around it, and he's also added a drop shadow. He has cropped it to make it appropriate for his particular purpose. The final thing I wanted to talk about is when you do design development, it's really important to do screen dumps. Now, computer software makes it all too quick and easy to change your designs once you get going, and so many students get caught out because of this. They get caught up in the creative process and then forget to record their steps. A really quick way to record these steps is to maximize your image on the desktop, then capture your screen, known as a screen dump, by hitting print screen on your keyboard as you go. The screen dump can then be pasted and resized on a Word document. These screen dumps can be printed out after your session on the computer. So call me if you'd like some help with this, because it does vary between PC and Mac, how you get your screen dumps. The screen dumps that are shown here are by a former student, and here we can see the development of a poster for a band, the Boston Tea Party. So to conclude, remember that your design development and design refinement is assessed by criteria 4 and criteria 5, and that each one is worth 10 marks. That's 20 marks in total out of a total 80 marks for your SAT. So this week you'll need to submit your design development folio pages so that I can offer help and feedback before you move on to the refinement stage. So just to remind you again, there should be around 8 folio pages for each presentation that represent your design development, showing the use of the 3 M's, method, media, materials, and the design elements and design principles, or the E's and P's. There they are. The submission page on this website requires you to upload a single file for each presentation. So just a reminder that each file you upload can be up to 20 megabytes. So that's actually quite a big file. Having all 8 or more folio pages for each presentation in a single and separate file makes it so much easier for me to review your work. If work comes in dribs and drabs as individual image files with no headings on the page or the file labelled incorrectly, I fly pretty blind and I don't always know what I'm looking at. So please get into the habit now of good digital submission practice, which is also about good folio practice. So in general, just keep things organised and in sequence. It'll really help you out in the long run.